my surroundings. It's so beautiful, right? The calm and refreshing atmosphere. We all need such a safe and cool places in this earth like this, with utmost purity, right? So, it's our duty to save our Mother Earth. Welcome back to my classroom. Today you'll be very surprised why I stood in the midst of nature while starting the video. Why I showed you some of the dark side of the nature. Why? The reason is the topic for today's discussion is Environment Impact Assessment or EIA. From the word itself, what is Environment Impact Assessment? What are the impacts which are affecting the environment are assessed, right? Let's look in detail. Before that, we can go to contents. The contents for today's discussion are definition of EIA, applicable areas of EIA, EIA and business management, purpose of EIA, guideline principles of EIA, process of EIA, current scenario. Just like all presentation, we can discuss this with a current scenario, and the current scenario topic is very trending now. It is EIA Draft 2020 in India. What is EIA? Environment Impact Assessment can be defined as systematic examination of unintended consequences of a development project or program with a view to reduce or mitigate negative impacts and maximize on positive ones. What is EIA? What does the definition says about EIA? Let's look in detail. It is the systematic examination. The first thing is EIA is systematic examination of what? Systematic examination of unintended consequences. So, of what? It is of examining unintended consequences of a development project or program. The third thing is we are examining unintended consequences of a development project or program with the view to reduce. What is the reason, or what is the reason behind EIA is it is for the view to reduce or mitigate negative impacts and maximize the positive one. The fourth stage is it is to view what will be the negative impacts upon nature, and we have to mitigate those negative impacts and we have to maximize the positive one. What may be the development project? It may be constructing a building, construction of dams, construction of nuclear power stations, thermal power projects, etc. That are the development projects comes under the categories, and it is for what? Simply as one word, for sustainable development. The key is before starting a project, it has to be done. Why? Because it is an evaluation criteria of what are the negative impact which may comes while we are doing a particular construction. Okay? And EIA falls under the Environment Protection Act of 1986. From the definition, it is clear that EIA is applicable for some of the development, project and program. Let's look in detail what are the applicable areas of EIA. The applicable areas of EIA are mining of coal and other minerals, mining industry, infrastructural development while we are doing or constructing new buildings, thermal, nuclear and hydropower projects just like dams and all, real estate, other industrial project. These are the applicable areas of EIA. Next is Environment Impact Assessment from a business perspective. You all know, normally I come with a business management topics, right? Today why I took this subject is environmental impact assessment and business economy is very related. For carrying business activities, almost 50% of business activities, apart from the software side, most of the business activities are taking part of environmental products or environmental activities to handle their works. It is important for every business firm to consider environment. Why? For the coming generation also, the sustainability should be maintained. It is the ethical practice for conducting business. So let's look why EIA and business are related. Material economy. Normally, material economy means we are taking something from the nature, we are using that particular product for manufacturing, and that particular product manufactured is out for sale. From environment we are taking, for example, crude oil or petroleum. We are taking one of the natural resource available, and after taking that natural resource available, we used it under process. After processing that as aircraft fuel, as petroleum, as diesel, it is out in the economy. Right. We are in a material economy world. Economic growth and development remain embedded in very core of current international economic system and so-called material economy. We are taking or we are digging resources from the environment and we are using it for our business growth. The reason is we have to sustain in this environment. For that, we are taking some of the resources from the environment too. But the way we are using that should be in a sustainable manner. If we are not using that in a sustainable manner, means the Mother Earth will react back to us. It will be very severe. That is the reason. Second is need for sustainable development in business. I already told. Sustainability should be maintained. However, depleting natural resources and environmental degradation, which now threaten the well-being of future generation, has challenged this premise and placed sustainable development as a necessary objective of business activity and expansion. I already explained it. The first thing is we are taking some of the things which we are getting from the nature. We are using the natural resources for our business practices. Right? Next is We are using that in such a way so that the sustainability should be maintained. And for evaluating this sustainability, the next thing, environment impact analysis is a key tool. We are taking part in natural resource usage. That should be done in a sustainable manner, that is by increasing the positive ones and mitigating the negative ones. For that, environment impact analysis play the part of a key role. EIA has emerged as a key tool for government, business and NGOs to manage the negative impact of their activities on environment. On environment, in order to manage the negative impact, the word is very clear, in order to manage the negative impact and to increase the positive ones, EIA is a major tool. From a business perspective, this is the reason. We are taking part of usage of natural resources which are taken from the environment, and in order to use it in a sustainable manner, we use EIA as a major tool. What is the purpose of EIA in detail? We already discussed. It promotes sustainable development by identifying environment sound practices and mitigation measures. Sustainable development by identifying environment sound practices. Next is to ensure that environment consequences were taken in account during planning, designing and decision making process. From the starting stage, planning and designing a particular project itself, EIA or the environment impact is taken into consideration, and we make decisions based on that. That is very important. From the planning section itself, we have to consider the factors which affect our environment to influence how it is subsequently managed during the implementation. Next is in the planning stage, in the designing stage, in the decision making stage, we take it to the consideration, and after that it should be subsequently managed during the implementation phase also. The adverse impact could be avoided or reduced. At a maximum rate, it should be avoided. Otherwise, we should take consideration in order to reduce it. Okay? It is a pictorial representation. It is an industry showing here. This is an industry which emits polluted air into the atmosphere. For human beings, we need polluted air or good, natural and clean air. We need clean air for survival. Not only as the whole environment, the whole living beings around us need clean air for survival, right? Polluted air may cause lot of diseases, lot of problems for human beings and both for the nature. While we are introducing an industry like this, when we are emitting dirty and polluted air to the atmosphere means that problem should be avoided or it should be reduced. The exposing nature is we the human beings and to the whole nature, and the best option or the best controlling method is we should get a clean air, right? For that, we can place a mitigation facility, and when we are introducing this, we should analyze cost-benefit analysis, whether our profit will not be lower than the expense. The cost-benefit analysis is done and the response for the purposed method from the outside environment. This is to be checked. This is a whole method we want to check while we are introducing an industry which is causing some of the environment degrading factors. We have to reduce that environment degradation factors by introducing some of the new facilities, and we have to check the cost benefit analysis. We have to analyze the exposed dose and the dose response and everything. This is a pictorial representation. Let's look back to the history. First, environment legislation. The first comprehensive environmental legislation under Section 102 in United States come into force on 1st January 1970 in the form of National Environment Policy Act (NEPA). In India, first it is in US in 1970. In India, the Central Ministry of Environment and Forest issued a notification on 27 January 1994 making EIA statutory for 29 specified activities falling under the sectors such as industry, mining, irrigation, power and transport, etc. This notification was amended on 4th May 1994. So in the year 1994, this EIA came to effect in India, and it is applicable for some of the sections, right, like industries, mining, irrigation, power and transport, and the notification was amended in 4th May 1994. We can discuss about some of the guideline practices of EIA. The first step is participation. An appropriate and timely access to the process for all interested parties. Example I will tell you. A dam is constructing near my locality. Just an example, okay? Just imagine a dam is constructing near my locality. As a citizen living near to that locality, I have all the rights to show my opinion regarding that dam construction. That is participation. Access to all interested people. Okay, next is transparency. All assessment decision and their basis should be open and accessible. Everything, all the decision regarding the construction, how it is affecting the environment, what are the mitigation measures used, what are the positive and negative impact, everything should be transparent to the common world. That is the second step. Third is certainty. The process and timing of assessment should be agreed by all participants in advance. When the dam is going to construct, in which time it is pretended to be over, how it is useful, what are the ways of construction. Such type of matter should be clear and certain. That is the third point, third guideline. Accountability. The decision makers of all parties are responsible for their action and decisions under the assessment process. The decision makers or the chief person who are taking part in the construction. Now we take an example of dam. So the chief person who are taking in part of the construction of a dam and the chief decision makers are accountable. The word is very important. They are accountable for all the impact, whether it is negative one or positive one, which comes from that project. They are accountable. The chief persons are accountable for the after effects of that particular project construction. Credibility. Assessment is undertaken with professionalism and objectivity. The complete project, the complete development scenario should be taken with utmost professionalism, and the objectivity behind that particular project construction should be very clear. For example, if you are constructing a dam, that is for a hydroelectric power project. For hydroelectric power project, some of the factors should be very clear. That is, the dam should be at a proper height level. Without that proper height level, hydroelectric project cannot be established, right? So such sort of objectives should be very clear, and we should reach the objective, the goal in that proper span of time, and the developments, everything should be handled with utmost professionalism level. Then cost effectiveness. The assessment process and its outcome will ensure environmental protection at least cost to the society. The society living in surrounding to that particular development project should be saved. They should not have any harm. The cost effectiveness is, we should have a cost balance. While we are considering or while we are reducing all the negative impact, some of the cost, additional cost may be incurred. But it is the cost of society who are living around that particular project. So a cost benefit analysis should be properly taken, and the cost should not be exceed than the benefit. The benefit should stand at the first place. So benefit is first, cost should be lower than the benefit, but the society value or the environment value is also very important. It should also be taken to the consideration. Next, flexibility. The assessment process should be able to deal efficiently with any proposal and decision making situation. The project, just like construction of dams, thermal power projects, nuclear power stations, etc. It should be flexible. Why? Because while we are dealing with nature, while we are having activities with respect to environment, some of the factors which may come in adversely at the non-intended timing, it may come. So we should be flexible. When such a thing happened, we should have a B plan. A plan and B plan should be there. Why? Because if some sort of plan has been doesn't work out clearly, means we have to take the second plan for consideration. So the plan and the decision making should be flexible one. The last step is practicability. The information and outputs provided by the assessment process are readily usable in decision making and planning. That is, when we are taking part in some projects, all the output or the assessment details, how it is affecting the environment, how it is affecting the society, all those details should be practically available. Those information should be practically available to common people. Then only they can take part in the decision making and planning process. That is also very important criteria. Okay. So these are the 8 guidelines for EIA. Next, we are going to EIA process in a sequence of application. Now we discuss the guidelines and what are the process which is involved in EIA. The first process is screening. Screening means we are taking part in a new construction. Whether a full-fledged screening is needed or a partial evaluation is only needed. That is, here 2 ways. Full-fledged screening is needed or partial evaluation is needed. That is based on the project we are taking under consideration. For example, if you are taking a building project, only a few things, that is the stability of the soil, everything is only needed to take in part of consideration. But at the same time, when we are introducing or when we are constructing a nuclear power plant, means a lot of factors, a full-fledged detailing is needed. How it is affecting that particular location? Is it safe? Is it safe to the society living around that? Is it having proper distance from the other community? Just like the lot of of factors need to be taken to consideration. That is full-fledged screening and partial screening, whether what is needed for a particular project. Based on that project, we have to decide those things. Second is scoping. Scoping means we are evaluating a particular project. Based on the screening, we are evaluating a particular project and we are finding what may be the impacts on nature and the outside surrounding. We are evaluating all the possible negative impact and the positive impact, and also we are evaluating how we can mitigate the negative ones, how we can improve the positive one. This comes under the scoping category. Okay? Next is assessment and evaluation of impact and development of alternatives. Here we have identified the impact, whether it is positive or negative. All the possible impacts are calculated in the second stage. Now we are assessing and evaluating all this impact, both positive, negative, everything, and we are developing alternatives. Alternatives are developed. If there is a cause of air pollution, how we can overcome that by introducing a particular thing. Just like that, how if a lot of waste has been generated, how we can degrade that waste in an environment friendly manner. When a water pollution chance is there, how we can mitigate that water pollution chance and how we can overcome that with reduction in its pollution volume. Just like that, we are developing lot of alternatives in the third stage. And finally, preparation of EIA report. Based on all these three things, that is, first we screened, second we find all the impacts, third we evaluated and assessed that impact and we developed alternatives, and finally by evaluating these three we had prepared an EIA report. Environment Impact Assessment report is prepared. And from that, review of EIA report. How we can review? Before taking part in decision making, the EIA report is given to the public. Both the public and the authorities take part in the review. Public can also show, no, this is not correct. This is wrong. This may cause this type of negative impact upon nature. The report is wrong. Then again the review process will goes on from here. Just like that, both the public and the government take part in the review system. If the review system, after completing the review system, decision making phase has come into effect. In the decision phase, we are taking two decisions: whether to approve a particular project or not to approve a particular project. So evaluating all this above 5, a decision making phase is taken to approve a particular project or not to approve a particular project. If a project is having lot of negative impacts, it is completely against the environment scheme. It is completely affecting the environment in the most adverse manner, means surely the project will not approve. But it is okay. Some of the impacts were there, then also we can mitigate those impacts by introducing some of the facilities, and we can improve the positive ones. Then we can take that project to consideration, that is decision making phase. Then at finally, monitoring, compliance, enforcement and environment auditing. So after implementing, proper monitoring should be done, proper compliance system should be implemented, proper enforcement based on all the above categories should be done, and proper environment auditing, that is The reason is, when we are placing an industry, there we placed an incinerator. After a periodic timing, proper maintenance should be done. If proper maintenance is not done, means commonly and gradually the working capacity of that particular incinerator will decrease. It may degrade. Again, the pollution rate will increase. So, proper environment auditing is done. Then only periodically we can improve all our facilities in order to improve and mitigate the negative ones, and improve the positive ones, and we can run an environment friendly industry. Okay, so these are the process involved in EIA. Finally, we had reached the last portion of today's discussion, that is current scenario. In all the presentation, I include current scenario. Actually, the reason for taking this topic is this current scenario. Why? Because the news is very trending now. And it is very essential to take into consideration. Why? Because it is a very important concern. That is why I had taken this topic. The current scenario or the current news is like this. Draft EIA notification dilutes environmental protection, is in denial of ecological crisis. This news is about EIA Draft 2020 in India. Let's look in detail. What is EIA Draft 2020? The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has published the Draft Environment Impact Assessment Notification 2020 with the intention of replacing the existing EIA Notification 2006 under the Environment Protection Act 1986. So now EIA 2006 is applicable. Now the government has come up with a new notification for a new EIA, that is EIA 2020. Lot of changes which are not acceptable for the environment specialist has implemented in this current notification. Let's look in detail. A list of projects has been included under category B2 expressly exempted from the requirement of EIA. Lot of projects are exempted from this EIA category. Now we studied about EIA, right? You maybe understand how it is important, how much it is valuable that EIA should take part in consideration while we are taking part in project. How much it is valuable. Why? Because we are living in this world. The Mother Earth is the living place for all human beings and all living creatures. So if this Mother Earth degrade means we have no place to live. This is the only planet we can able to live with this type of harmony, right? So for every business, for every projects and program, it is very important to take environment as a first considerable factor. It should not be degraded. From the coming future, from a sustainable growth, for a sustainable generation, the environment should be saved. So this EIA Draft 2020 is showing lot of negative impact upon the environment. Why? Because this draft is not taking a proper consideration for the environment. That is the main drawback of EIA Draft 2020. Look more in detail. The EIA Draft 2020 allows post facto clearance. From the first definition itself, what I told you, EIA is done before implementing our project. Before phase it should be done. Before implementing, before developing a project, it should be done. Why? Because then only we can able to mitigate all the negative impacts upon nature and we can improve the positive ones. After implementing a particular industry means how we can able to mitigate the negative ones, how we can able to evaluate the negative ones. That is the main problem in the EIA Draft 2020. They told that it allows post facto clearance. After developmentation of project, after developmenting a project, we can able to clear EIA. Before development, it is not needed. That is a very, it should be think, right? So as an Indian citizen, just think about that. Next, any project the government categorizes strategic are exempted from assessment. What is government? Government is for the people and for by the people, right? It is government, democratic government. But here government is telling anything, any project which a government considers strategic are exempted from the assessment. If a project is named strategic, if a strategic project is taken into consideration, it is accepted from this assessment. Whatever it is strategic or a normal, anything, whatever may be. If we are taking part environment resources or if we are dwelling that particular project in an environment space, EIA should take into consideration. Without that consideration, it is not a justified method. That is my opinion, okay. And all inland waterways and national highway projects are excluded. Inland waterways, all waterways project, inland waterways project and highway project. Highway projects are for transportation, right? For easy movable, for goods, for human beings, this highway, water, inland transportation, everything project are going on. For this also EIA should need to take part in consideration. Why? Because we are depleting some of the natural resources and we are constructing all these things. Why? For our ease, traveling, for our purposes. Before that, we should consider EIA. Environment impact assessment should be done. Then only we can find all those things, how it is impacting upon the environment, how we can clear that with positive ones or how we can reduce that particular negative ones. So this is very important. In all these areas, EIA should be considered. Okay. Then exempting construction projects under 1,50,000 square meter. The constructions which are under 1,50,000 square meter also does not need EIA clearance. Violation cannot be reported by citizens. We had studied about EIA guideline. The first EIA guideline is transparency and participation. First is participation, second is transparency. That are the two basic guidelines of EIA. That is violated here. If a violation is found, as it is citizen, I am not able to show or respond to it. I have no right to respond to it. Only the authorities which is assigned by the government have the right to what? Show their opinion to it. As a common citizen, as a person who are affected by those projects, have no right to show their opinion regarding that particular project. The basic guideline of EIA is not considered here. The basic guideline of EIA is participation and transparency. So that is not considered here. No citizen have the right to report to the violation found. Next, a public hearing gives a chance to public to understand the project. It cuts cuts down 30 days of public consultation to 20 days. A public hearing is there to understand about the project. But in earlier it was 30 days a public consultation is possible. Now it cuts down to 20 days. Actually, this EIA report may be 100 of pages. In real life, in real life this EIA report may contain 100 of pages. A common man will not understand the things which is written in this EIA report. So they need time to understand what is written in the EIA report. That time is cut from 30 days to 20 days. So by identifying all these things regarding EIA 2020 draft in India, lot of environmental specialists are telling it is completely against the EIA scheme. It is a denial to the nature. It is not taking consideration of the environment properly. Just like that, lot of arguments are now going on in our particular lifetime. So, as a common Indian citizen, I am also against this EIA Draft 2020. Why? Because nature, this environment is our Mother Earth. We are living here, we are dwelling here, we are having our harmony together in this Mother Earth. If this Mother Earth is not there, means we have no dwelling place to live. So just think or just mold all the business activity, whether you are a businessman, whether you are a business student or anything. Just mold your heart, mind and activity by considering our Mother Earth and Mother Nature. Just by this, I am concluding my today's topic. So once again, thank you all and bye. We can meet with another video in the next week.